Hi, everybody. Welcome to season 3 of What's IGN Crashing On. I'm Karen Walby Solomon, and I'm your host. And we're here to talk about what's hot in pop culture. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 5. Today on the show, we have an interview with Lesley-Ann Brandt from Lucifer. And I'm joined today by Leanne and Rebecca as per usual, as well as two guests, two of my favorites, Jamal and Theo. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
So how's everybody been? Good? I assume that all the nods on an audio podcast is a good sign. So I don't know what everybody else has been.
We're good.
Yeah, what everybody else has been up to, but I caught Shang Chi on Friday night, and I know the guys have watched it previously. So okay, let's start with you. Let's start with Shang Chi and say like, okay, Theo, what did you think of the film?
I really enjoyed it. It was really nice to have an origin movie within the MCU where it's not a paint by numbers. I think it was, for me personally, the best MCU origin story they've done in a while. Well, actually, I think that's maybe my number one, just because we get Shang Chi and we learn about him. But what's really nice is that we have like these badass um female characters around him too, and that's just really nice to get that, because it's like it's not ham-fisted, or it's not like because they have actual kind of like roles that they play, and then it's not just like a cliche kind of part. So it was really good and I really enjoyed it, and I'm encouraging everyone to go see it.
And you, Jamal?
For me, the best part actually about Shang-Chi was the fact that because we're so deep in the MCU now, surprises are few and far between. And Shang-Chi actually was surprising in like the way the MCU handled a proper martial arts film for the first time. We're just going to ignore Iron Fist. And just like all the characters in the story were actually compelling, like interesting to watch. Specifically, the villain Shang-Chi's father, and this is when the MCU is good, when the villain is not just a one-dimensional mustache twirly. I wanna destroy the world. When it's not that, when it's actually like there's an interpersonal relationship with all the characters, specifically the villain. And also the fact that Shang-Chi didn't feel like it was shackled with setting up the next MCU movie. It felt like it was, for the most part, self-contained. Still, obviously, the elements within the MCU that are there, but it didn't feel like midway through the MCU, we had this problem where, especially solo films, felt like they were shackled by the greater MCU, where they kind of had a solo story, but then they had to set up whatever comes next. When now it feels like filmmakers are able to like tell their own story and still do and still exist within the MCU. Like Shang-Chi still feels like it exists within the MCU, but it doesn't feel like Shang-Chi is shackled with setting up Eternals, for example. So yeah,
It's not
wonderful
just playing
film.
an
Go,
exposition role.
yes, yeah. So it's probably one of the best MCU origin stories, and even Aquafina without a black scent is funny.
She's so good. Like I was thinking, I was like, is she like, I like her as a friend character. If they become love interest, I'm okay with that. Like it's just, it was just so well done. It's like it didn't feel like they were setting her up to be specifically a love interest, but it was like her role in the film felt like she needed to be there. Like her role as like a driver, as a just in this, and learning how to find her, like her passion and her path. It was, I also thought, I was like, oh, are they just putting her in there because she's like famous compared, she's probably the most famous in America compared to the other actors, whatever, other than Michelle Yeoh. But but like I really enjoyed the storyline. Like I was like, Aquafina, I'm here for this. I get why they also cast her, because she's funny. So is he though. Simu Lee. He's also so funny. And anybody else have any thoughts?
I mean, I was gonna contribute, but I'm only watching it this afternoon. So at this point, you guys are just like teasing it for me even more than like everything else.
This
So I'm just here to like listen and absorb and be like,
this is the
what's
first
gonna happen?
this is the first movie I've seen in the cinemas in a long time, and I watched it in IMAX, and it was such a great experience. Like I watched Black Widow at home, so I didn't it, while I still like the movie per se, like I was on my phone. I'm not gonna lie, I was I'm always on my phone when I'm watching something at home. So I wish I'd actually gone to see it in the cinemas, and I think I would have had a very different experience. But no, this was a movie you have to watch in the cinemas, definitely.
Can I chime in about Black Widow since we're talking about it? Black Widow really was such a waste of all of our time. Like, and I'll say this with my chest. This should have happened after Civil War.
Mm,
Because like the biggest issue with Black Widow is because we're in the MCU, by the time Black Widow came out, we've been through Loki, WandaVision,
mm.
Falcon and his boyfriend. So we're deep in the MCU. And now you want to give like this weird sequel in the middle of everything, which no one cares about because we know she's dead. Like I have no investment in this film because she's dead. What must I do? All this was a setup for everyone else around her,
Yeah.
which is great and cool. That could have been a show. Like,
So
sorry, I
it
just
essentially
Black Widow irks my
was just
soul.
to set up Florence Pugh. Like I feel like that's what the film was, to bring her into the MCU.
Which, to be fair, was a very good setup.
Yeah.
Mm, it was brilliant. And Julia Louis Dreyfus, do we know what her character is going to be in the MCU yet?
Yeah, she's probably gonna be in Armor Wars because she's Val. So she was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier as well. So
Yes.
she's kind of like Lady Hydra, and she's going to set up
Oh,
kind of like she's going to probably start her own like sort of like evil Avengers.
okay.
So like
I'm
an
excited for
evil
that
Nick
idea as well.
Fury.
Yeah, she's like an evil Nick Fury
Oh yeah, they
basically.
have a name. There's a name for them. Damn,
The
I can't remember now.
Thunderbolts.
The
Yeah.
Thunderbolts.
Yes.
Um. So what are you guys looking forward to in the MCU going forward?
I need Wanda to find happiness. That's all I need. After What If this week, also, I'm so sick and tired of seeing my girl being
Oh,
punished with the eternal love.
I love them
Oh,
being evil together. Yes. Kill when somebody cause a whole
but like,
town to be under your spell. Do this crazy shit. I love it.
no, but did you watch the latest episode of What If?
Mm. Yeah, that's why I'm like I like him also be going crazy once something happens to her.
But this is like what the fourth time we've had to watch Wanda mourn the death of Vision. Like, can this woman live, please, man, please? And I don't
Give her
care
a
if she's a
different motivation. Give her something to do.
and I don't care if she's a villain in a multiverse of madness. Give my girl some peace, please.
And you, Theo, what you looking forward to?
Um, I think the unexpected actually. I am looking forward to what Eternals will give us.
Mm.
I'm hoping for more queer representation, but that's just me and my queer existence. I'm hoping for just we've been getting really good stories and are really enjoying where it's going. But yeah, just give us some of the different parts that we haven't seen before. As someone pointed out, like the first 10 years of the MCU was just the story of the straight white male. So
Mhm.
please give us something else. And yeah, I'm really enjoying what it's giving us and stuff. So yeah, just different things.
Mm.
Different things.
So I did actually want to talk about like I told you this originally like a couple of months ago because a couple of years ago you wrote this blog post about why the MCU needs to incorporate more queer characters, and like they've been so like throwing out like little scraps like a character here says something, or like Loki is probably fluid and pansexual and stuff like that, but we don't get to see anything. So do you like, we know with the internals coming up that there's going to be a queer relationship, but still, like, what do you like? What are your thoughts now, like revisiting what you wrote like so many years ago? Uh,
Like, funny enough, I completely forgot that I wrote that until you brought it up right now. But because life happens. But I think like everything, just like in rushing back, and everything that I said, there still very much stands. It's like the issue, and Jamal actually also raised this point, which is very salient. Is that like, while in real life it's great to be able for bi and queer people just to say that they're bi and queer and have that be it.
mm,
However, when it comes to the medium of television and screen, we actually need to see it. That's the unfortunate kind of like thing about the fact of being in a visual media. Like, you can say it and that's great and well, but that's giving us scraps. That's not putting
mm,
in the work. That's not giving us the representation that actually makes that breaks boundaries, and maybe just like makes, not that we need to make the queer experience more palatable, but it just also makes it more relatable to other people. Like, oh, if someone's favorite superhero can be a queer hero, then and they themselves might not be queer, but it just automatically makes a connection and makes it easier for them to be like, okay, well, if my favorite superhero is queer, then it's like no big deal that my friend can be, or my next door neighbor. And then in just kind of this, it's just, sometimes it's the big moments of seeing things that make the smaller moments in life easier for people to deal with. Because like, once you see it on there, you can be like, oh, it might not be conscious, but subconsciously it's like, okay, well then, even if it comes up in conversation, you're like, oh, but then if someone else comes out, then it's like no big deal, and we just carry on. It's not like this wall that we hit in conversation, and then everything gets awkward and silent because now you're uncomfortable, and then everyone's just like, okay, can we move on? So, but yeah, I'm crossing my fingers and thumbs and my toes that we get to a point where we can have a badass superhero who just happens to be queer and has a partner who's a man, or a female led um, movie who she happens to have a girlfriend, and that'll be really nice, or someone non binary also leading it, or just like give us what we know we are capable of delivering and what we will go and support, because that's the thing. Like, if you give it to us, we'll show up.
mm. And Jamal, just what are you also into seeing in the MCU? Like, I know you spoke about what you, but like your characters and your moments that you.
Well, latching onto what Theo
Mm,
said, when we get the Young Avengers, then it's going to be interesting to see how Feige and Marvel handle it, because everyone is queer in that team.
mm,
So, and I know the biggest issue with Marvel and like upper level Disney is because of the Chinese market.
yeah.
We all know that's a big determining factor into why we haven't had proper queer representation, because obviously we're still illegal in that lovely country, and it still comes down to money. But like any Disney now, you own everything at this stage. Like, can we have one thing? Like, I'm just asking, can we just have one? Just one movie of queer people existing and doing badass superhero stuff, and it just be like they happen to be just how your love interests are forced within all these straight couples in the MCU.
Mm,
Please, can we have some? And this has been my biggest issue with Marvel and like an upper level Disney is like they'll pander to queer people to a point, especially with their films. Like Cruella is a great example of this. If you watch Cruella, you will see there are queer coded people all around Cruella in the
mm,
film, and then Disney, even for the promotion of it, tap Drag Race queens to do Cruella looks, but no one is explicitly queer in a whole film set in the 70s in the fashion industry in London. Everyone is gay coded, but no one is actually. And it would have been a simple thing of like two of the supporting characters saying, "Oh, that's my ex-boyfriend."
mm,
Like that simple line establishes that these people aren't just queer presenting; they are actually, oh, they have a history. they dated. And in the lower level on Marvel, they tiptoe around things and do. Ooh, Loki says, I like. What did he say? I like boys and girls. What did he
Something like a
say?
little
Or
bit of both.
both? Yeah, that's great and cute and funny. But I need him to make out with a man then. Like, show me. Don't hang this carrot because we all knew. Well, Loki is also submissive and breedable, but it's a whole different podcast. But but like show us like and it doesn't and it's this thing where people sexualize queer people in general and don't understand like we were kids before we were adults, like we would also like to see our favorite superhero be queer and be in an MCU film. And there are a bunch of queer kids that would also like to be like, oh, I'm not excluded from this concept of being a superhero, and also not, and also just not code us as supervillains because they like to shove queer people or queer coded people, again Disney, biggest offender about this, into villain roles instead of having us be heroes. So yeah, queer representation. Also, fixing the accents in Wakanda would be great.
The strength of the Black Panther will be stripped away.
Because what Shang-Chi showed so brilliantly was the fact that like the first 10 to 15 minutes are all in Mandarin, and like it didn't take you out of the film. Um, Read subtitles, guys, it's not that deep, and but it felt more authentic. And even like to and like someone who doesn't speak Mandarin, it sounds reasonably fine. It sounds fine for my ears. Yeah. So just I would just like them to fix the Xhosa in Black Panther, because even me as a non-Xhosa speaker, I was like, "Hey, what are we saying here, guys?"
Oh, I wanted to say like, oh, this is like when we talk about having like more queer relationships, they need to also do it like in the films because I really like the Runaways that was on Hulu, and I
Mm.
read the comics, and in the comics Carolina is gay and she likes Nico, but then Nico doesn't feel the same way. She's like straight or whatever. But in the show, Nico does feel the same way, and it was such a great romance, and I loved it so much. And I was like, I'm so glad that they did it. But obviously, this is a teen show on a streaming thing, and not a lot of people watch, and they don't necessarily see it as part of the MCU. So I feel like sometimes they throw bones, especially when they like give like when there's like what's the word I'm looking for, like
Low
oh no,
risk.
yeah, like minority characters, they'll put them as big on like the smaller shows, and then say, "Oh, we're giving representation to people," and then the main films are still like straight white men. So I feel like when we say they should give more representation, they need to give it in the big stuff as well as in the little things that not everybody watches. Um, but I just Shang-Chi, I just want to say, oh, he's dead though. Can I just say? When he
Girl.
walked that like when he walked into that bar, when he had that three-quarter white suit thingy on and he killed those people, oh my gosh, I was so in love. I was like, I don't know what it says about me. I mean, obviously he's a very good looking man, but I'm like the fact that when he was when
He's
he was
very daddy.
yeah, when he was murdering people, I was like, I'm here for this. This is all I need in life.
Oh no! All I was like, I said yes, Daddy, I do. I was like, yes, bring it, bring it, bring all of it.
Did you see when Samu tweeted hi, I'm Stacy and this is my mom. I mean, I like it to meet my mom.
Yes.
Yes.
I love it. So okay, so in other news this week, all the celebrities are apparently pregnant. Do you guys see this?
Something in the water.
Or just gave birth to.
Yeah. But I also feel like everybody announced things after Kylie because they're like, okay, this is gonna take all the publicity off of them. Like, you know what I
If
mean?
you're
Like,
trying to slip under the radar.
mm,
Yeah.
But even Kylie missed the publicity because the TikTokers figured it out weeks
yeah.
ago, and they were right.
But did you see like the colors of her nails? That's how they figured it
Yes,
out.
it's Kim that fumbled the bag. It's Kim that fumbled the bag. And I know Chris Jenner called a meeting and lambasted her favorite child because she's like, now you see, we had all of this planned because we all knew it was suspicious that because Kylie launched the whole 24 carat collection for her makeup line. And usually Kylie's birthday is a big brouhaha and like everyone's posting and it's all the K's and it's their horrible partners and we all watching. But this time around, one photo, girl, we can smell something is up, sis. And then the TikTokers just put the dots together. And I was like, Kim, blame Kim. You should have also, but I think she wasn't conscious about the fact that her nails were a different color. But yeah, I love the TikTokers. They quickly were like, Kylie, something is up. You're pregnant, girl.
But also, is it that okay? Okay, I don't know if I'm maybe just not the target mark, but I'm like, is it that exciting for us? Like the second time around, like it feels more like something you would expect. Like the first time was like this big shock because you didn't know, like, oh my gosh, she's having babies now. But now it's like she's kind of in that mom kind of role. She clearly loves it. Like she's made it clear very often. But yeah.
I read an interesting piece that said like the way the news was broken and what made it so iconic was the fact that it's the first piece of Kardashian news that hasn't been hinged on the show. So it's the first time they're completely controlling the narrative without using the show as leverage to tune in,
Mm.
watch the big reveal, see the thing, and it's them taking control of the narrative and how they're handling big pieces of news within the family without the show. And so I think that's probably what's more fascinating about it
Mm.
than the fact that she's having baby number two.
Unless this is like the first arc of the new show on Hulu, which I have a sinking feeling this is part of Chris's plan. Like, I don't trust Christian. Like, there's always a plan. Like, the minute they announced that with the Kardashians was ending, I was like, something is in the woodworks because these people love money too much. And what happened? Oh, yeah, we're coming to Hulu. I'm like, okay, Chris, we see you.
I wonder what it's like to be like specifically Kylie and having to grow. Like she was what 9 or so when the first show started, and like having to sort of like grow up, and like if you always have to think that everything you do is in relation to how it's gonna be controlled on the show. So nothing you do is ever kind of for yourself,
Yeah.
and you always have to think of like the
It's always
PR
about the
around
brand.
it. I wonder. Yeah, it's interesting. People are gonna write like psychology
That's
papers on
horrible.
her.
No, I think that Rob is the best example of someone who tapped out of it.
Mm.
Hence, we never see Rob anymore because the Kardashian brand, and I know also probably Chloe annoys Chris because she also moves madly. Her and a lovely baby daddy who is, then you're with Tristan, then you're not with Tristan.
Mm.
Then he's cheating, then he's not cheating. Then he's caught red handed again and you're denying it. Chloe, just like, please, you are the mayor of Boo Boo the Foolville. Just admit it, take it in, and stop pretending like you're not taking Tristan back because, girl, we all know you are. Like when he was that shiny on that last season, where I was like, why is the makeup artist not powdering this man down? It was the lie seeping through, and you were sitting right there pretending like it didn't happen. But okay, girl. No, I think I think it's probably fun. It's probably not fun. It's probably psychologically. I don't think it's healthy at all.
Mm.
To be constantly in the public eye, and even when North called out Kim this week for putting on an influencer voice. That was a great example of there's a certain way they have to present
Mm.
themselves when they're being filmed or seen, and you can never truly be yourself. And that's why Beyonce doesn't speak to us because she doesn't want us to know her,
Mm.
like on a personal parasocial level.
Talking about parasocial, um, that's been the word going around this week. In another couple who I don't really want to talk about, but okay, we can talk about them. Olivia Munn and John Mulaney.
Yo, guys, just
What happened there? Sorry, I missed
That
that.
man is like a he's all of a sudden like a historian throwing out timelines almost like
I've been sending Karen TikToks because I stumbled across this one and I sent her a TikTok about it. this person said and gave a full breakdown. So now apparently John Mulaney's ex-wife has now been posting an art. She's some type of artist
Mm,
posting visual art, but so it's very much photography and stuff. And so what she's doing is that there's a picture of her just at a dining table. Two plates are there. One is empty. It's her alone. Another one is her sitting on the room of a bed, pacing around, and then she's just sitting there and she's alone. Another one's her on the stairs, laying there, and just no one's around. So this is now the art that's being posted. Meanwhile, so John, um, he fell off the wagon. I think he has cocaine addiction.
mm.
He's an
Yeah,
addict. I'm not particularly sure for what, but then he
it's
went to
cocaine.
rehab. Yes, and then he came out, and then he went back in again. However, amidst all of this, he then decided to get a divorce, and which totally caught his partner off guard. And she said that she was very kind of like taken aback and sad about it. However, meanwhile, Olivia Munn has been here in the background, and now girl is a few months pregnant. We don't know exactly how much, but the timeline of her falling pregnant and being pregnant and the divorce is
Sketchy.
very sketchy.
Before you expand, like, what is it with Hollywood and like everyone dating the same 10 people? Has anyone noticed that like it's a revolving door of like 20 people, like where everyone in Hollywood just seems to chop and change partners all the time? Sorry, continue.
And it's like if you look at anyone's dating timeline and you see Drake like in the middle. It's always
He appears everywhere. He
it's
just
always
stands Theo
Drake.
dating him.
Like, okay. Or rumored. And a lot of those young Hollywood actors, but like no, it's just it is a bit sketchy, and I feel like him like throwing out that timeline was very much to kind of like the lady doth protest too much, I think. And I'm not going to let anyone bully me into liking Olivia Munn. I haven't liked her for a long, long time. Um,
What
long
Psylocke
before,
didn't do it for you?
yeah, long before John Mulaney. But it's also like I don't know her, so I'm not going to be not going to bring the whole parasocial thing. I don't know her. I don't know him. I don't know their lives. I've got no right to say whether someone is a good person or a bad person. But you know when someone just gives you a vibe. Like I thought she was like I remember like early in her career, I thought she was like beautiful, and I was like, whatever. But but then you just listen to too many misogynistic interviews for you to be like. And that was before I saw that TikTok about her memoir. And people say like, oh, that was written 10 years ago. But she's done interviews kind of recently where she's said some very sketchy things that like it's nothing like I hate women or anything like that. It's all like, I don't get this whole like this is one she was on Anna Faris's podcast, and she was like, I hate this Oscar Moore thing on the red carpet. Like, I don't want to talk about like global issues and stuff like that. I just want to talk about what I'm wearing. And it's like that's valid, but like you taking away from what the point of the movement was, so that to say that women aren't just talking about their clothes. And it's a lot of this cool girl kind of attitude that I'm like, just not for me, just not for me. And now with this whole kind of backlash and people like, you don't know John Mulaney, you can't say do people just hate Olivia Munn because she's beautiful? And I'm like, no. And there was that situation with that fashion bloggers where she was going against because they didn't like the way she dressed. And then she was, but it wasn't like it was like Fug Girls or one of those. And then she was like, and then she like went after them online, and all of her 5 fans also came after them. So it's just like it's this kind of like weird
Not
vibe,
five fans, child.
weird vibe from her. But each of their own. I wish them happiness in their future. Um, I know I'm a sister of an addict, and I know that you shouldn't get into make any big decisions like get married or get into a relationship or have kids straight after coming out of rehab. But to each their own. If it works for them, it works for them, and who am I to say anything? But yeah,
I will say that Alicia Keys' prayer is strong, guys. That Alicia Keys' prayer. Just it seems to be. I don't think the Sierra prayer is the one. The Alicia Keys prayer clearly is the stronger one out of the two.
The sea.
Go get your man from
The
someone
thing is, the
else's.
problem with the Sierra prayer is that you have to go through a future first. So I would like to skip that. I'd rather take a man you already know is in a family and happy, like who loves his family, like Alicia Keys.
The template is there. I know what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah, rather that than to have to go through a future with all his drama. No, thank you.
You make a very valid point. It's completely understand why people do the Alicia Keys spray now.
Okay, so talking about like going through Bennifer made the official red carpet what's
Come
it,
back.
yeah, appearance this week. It was very cute at the Venice Film Festival, and now people are like, you should go back to your exes because that's where it's at.
Text your ex, guys. Do it today. Do it now.
So
Do it.
there's not. I tweeted that my point is that she met Ben for the first time when she was 33. So, some of us still have to get to that first time before you go circle back. So I'm quite good with that. There's no human being in my past that I ever want to revisit ever. Not once, not ever.
Same.
Hmm.
But I think they're cute, and I'm
I'm just
glad.
glad
Sorry, Jamal.
I'm just glad I don't want. I said I'm just glad I don't watch Afrikaans television, so I don't have to be confronted with my ex. Praise God. Look at Jesus, won't He do it?
Okay, let me just work out who that is. You guys can carry on. You guys can carry on.
Uh,
Just gonna be here.
Make notes for later.
No. I watch quite a bit of Afrikaans television. Um,
No, but like it's literally like we are in the early 2000s again. We're getting a new Matrix movie. We just finished Gossip Girl. I watched a sequel of Beast Wars. That was on Netflix earlier this year. Bennifer is back. Guys,
Ronaldo
what
is
are we
at
living
Man
in? Are we
United.
actually Don't talk about that man,
Yeah, but I mean,
please.
it's just like we won't talk about them. But I'm just saying, it's just like there's so many things that like, fuck, is this? If I had to write like what is happening now, it'll be like a journal from like 2005 or something, 2003.
It's literally, yeah, it's so weird, like how we've circled back. Like even like early 2000s fashion is making a comeback. It's just so weird that in the panoramic, we're all the way back now. And like the Gen Z kids are living their best lives, experiencing Bennifer for the first time. And we're like, no, we've been here. We saw this the first time. Yes, it's all love and what, and Ben is living his. But I think also Jen probably went back to Ben because I think Ben is more settled now as a man, but that's a whole different discussion about how men have to get into like their late 40s before they become like even worth entertaining. But I think because Ben dealt with his like addiction issues and he's also
the
now settled,
gambling.
has kids and kind of calmed down. I think that's always because like you can see the love whenever Ben. Look, guys, I know Hollywood is all smoke and mirrors, but we all see the love every time Ben and Jen look at each other, and our heart melts. And like, let's not lie, like it is nice. Loving love is nothing bad about it, and watching two people so in love, just and two hot, beautiful people, and also, ooh, Ben is so tall. My God, dreams. Seeing two hot people just being so in love, ugh, it's everything, man. It's giving what it's supposed to give.
I was watching a TikTok where the girl was like,
Leanne, what do you make of Bennifer?
Bennifer, I think I think you're right. Like it's knowing their history, it's knowing what they've been through, it's seeing how they each went their own way, they settled down, they thought they found the person, but actually, they needed to be together and they found each other again. And so there's hope for all of us to find our person again. Because if they could do all of that shit and still make it back to one another and be so cute and
Then you're
lovely, tell
married.
me, it's like the Netflix rom-com you want, right? It's giving me everything I want in cheesy world because the world is fucking shit. Sorry, one swear word, right? Um, and so and so now you get to witness this true life fairy tale, and I'm here for it because, yeah, distract me from the never-ending void.
Facts. When will this panorama end?
Oh no, I agree with
Yeah,
you.
it's cute. They're cute.
Rebecca, do you have any Bennifer views?
It's romantic.
Yeah, I mean, the past 35 minutes have been super informative. I've learned so much about MCU, about exactly what's happening in the world, and this is one of the reasons why I actually listen to this podcast because I need to get with it. But to the Bennifer thing, I've got two thoughts. So the first one is we might be living in a simulation where someone's just completely run out of ideas and they're like, let's just do it all again. And the second thought I have is the same with Leanne, like what you said about this sort of comfort and familiarity. Speaking as someone who has circled back a couple of times, um, yeah, I understand that like sometimes when things aren't going so well, the world is completely shit. You need that little bit of comfort in something that you know. So I think it's cute.
I s- um I saw this TikTok where this girl was combing through Jennifer's like memoir, and she was like, "No, Ben is the love of her life." She was like, because she talks about like how broken she was when Ben like broke up, or the engagement or whatever, when they broke up, because Ben was just right. And I don't know if some people say he was cheating on her, and we don't like, maybe it was probably some of these issues with his addiction. And then she went to Mark, and Mark was just also like comforting and something that she knew. And it was, but she was like, nothing was ever like what it was like with Ben. So I think that it
So
is a
sweet.
like a situation where, they love, they both have kids, they've lived their lives, but they come back together, they came back together when it was right for them. And yeah, I know, cute, I like it. um
Yeah, it's always weird for me because my mom always said you don't put on old shoes.
mm,
Like there's a reason you threw them out. But it's always fascinating when you talk about timing and people needing to find each other at the right time and mature at the right time. You know.
mm,
So it's interesting to like because you can go both ways. People are like never contact your ex. There's a reason you broke up. Blah blah blah. But in this case, it's great that if you're both growing as humans and then can grow together, why not? Why not be happy?
One of the things that gave me an inkling that something was up was Ben praised her in an interview with In Style, and like because we were just like someone asked him about it, and then he said like the sweetest thing. It's like he said, "I thought I had a good work ethic, but I was completely humbled and blown away by what she was doing. She was committed to doing day in and day out. The seriousness in which she took her work, the quiet and dedicated way she went about accomplishing her goals, and then how she would go back and redouble her efforts. She remains to this day the hardest working person I've come across in this business. She
yeah,
has great talent, but she also worked very hard for her success. I'm so happy for her that she seems at long last to be getting the credit she deserves."
yeah.
That just like hits you in the chest. Wow.
I'm assuming that's a movie career, right?
He was just talking about Ivo Jamal. That was wow. Oh my god.
Unnecessary, shady.
Shade. Um, we were just talking about it, but like, wow. Like, imagine a man talk about you like that. Yo,
Mm, imagine, Lord, I see what you're doing for others. um
I
in
just want the
Jesus' name,
hype, man.
amen.
Just the hype. Give me the hype, please. I beg. Get me out of this ghetto of short men in South Africa, please. Today, Jesus would be great.
but Jamal, maybe you're supposed to be the tall one in the relationship.
No, 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 no. Nah, nah.
That's what the Lord wants for
Nope,
you.
nope, 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 nope.
Okay, so
I bound that statement in Jesus' name. Amen.
um so anyway, we I spoke to Lesley-Ann Brandt this week, talking about people who are really hardworking, and she, one of the things she said was that people are always shocked, like South Africans are always shocked to hear that she's South African. But like once you, I don't know if it's like if you guys look at her, but like once you know, it's like it's very obvious to see and to hear. But like for me, I think I was also quite
Yes.
shocked. But like,
I first saw her in Spartacus,
mm,
and then I didn't know. I was like, "Oh, this is just a New Zealand actress because they shot the show." And it was only when she started doing Lucifer that I was like, "Oh, wait!" And then everyone on Twitter was talking about it. I was like, "Oh my word, she's from here!" And like, it's so nice to see her success and stuff, and just where
mm.
she started.
And she's like, her name is
Oh,
Lesley-Ann
me.
Brandt.
Exactly. Like it's very, 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 very colored. Very,
Mm,
very colored. But she looks like a colored Cape Townian. Like if you
mm,
look at her, you're like, I know
yeah.
someone who's related to you. So I wasn't shocked at all, especially because there's so many South Africans currently working in the US
Mm.
series. We have like Kim Emelbrecht in her. What's his name again? Neil. Is it Neil?
Sanderlands.
Bart.
Sandilands.
Yes, that were in Flash and other things. Like so, it's like the bunch, and then obviously the lead from Underground Railroad, Tuso.
Mm.
So like South Africa, and obviously Nomzamo. So like there are a bunch of South Africans currently like in prominent,
Yeah.
not just weird. I was going to say someone's name, but let
I
me
was
leave
also
that
gonna say
Afro
it,
alone.
and then I
Um,
could see it in your eyes, and then I was like, because we were going that route, and I was like,
You and Jamal had a, I see you and we see each other on this
yeah,
who
I
this
was like,
person is.
so yeah, like South Africans are extremely talented, especially like, and also I need the women of this country to escape this hellscape that is this country
mm.
to go flourish somewhere else, please.
And I'm so glad, like, with as Hollywood is becoming more diverse, it's nice to see like non-white South Africans doing well, because for the time period it was just Charlize, it was Shalto Copley, whatever, and it was just white. I mean, Terry Feto was on Bold and the Beautiful for a bit, but I mean, like, other than that, we didn't like. And most of our country is made of black actors, and very few black actors actually made it like overseas. But now it's like it's nice to see more and more starting to get prominent roles, and I'm happy we moving. And yeah, so we I spoke to Lesley-Ann Brandt, as I said, about Lucifer season 6, which is on Netflix right now, about the South African roots and all that kind of things. So yeah, I'm not going to tease anymore because the rest of the stuff is all in the interview. So here's my chat with Lesley-Ann Brandt. It's been a busy day.
My day's just getting started, so you're number 2.
Okay, so I'll get right to it. After 6 seasons, how does it feel to say goodbye to Maze and Lucifer and everything?
You know, it's bittersweet. It's obviously a character in a show I've called home for the last 6 years. At the same time, I'm really excited to be looking at, what's ahead for me career-wise, and developing some projects on my own. And I think the scariest part is, where is the next project going to shoot? Because I've had the luxury of, shooting home, in Los Angeles here. And so I'm able to sleep in my own bed and be with my family and do school pickups and drop-offs, so that's probably the scariest part for me. But yeah, it's bittersweet. It's always sad to say goodbye to something that you've loved, and a character that you've loved playing as much as I have.
Mm. And with the rest of the cast, like on Instagram and stuff, you guys are like a family. Was it sad to like end this chapter with them?
Yeah, I think we all feel the same, that it's rare that a show gets to go to 6 seasons these days. We've obviously been canceled and then resurrected as well. So we went through that roller coaster together, and some of us have had babies, gotten married, bought houses, and we've done really big life things on the show together. So yeah, it does feel sad. At the same time, we've all done this for a long time, so we're used to, you get very close and then people break off, and you find your next family, right? So yeah, it's kind of part of the job, I suppose.
So like, okay, I'm a big fan of Maze. I'm not even trying to play cool here. But so with this character, you've been having emotional moments. There's singing, there's dancing, there's like you out here mooting people. But what part of the role was like the most challenging for you?
What part of the role was most challenging for me? I would say just walking the fine balance between all of those things you mentioned. Is that you have to be open to exploring, her vulnerability and her pain and her love and her naivety. So you have to be able to be open and fluid. At the same time, you must never forget that she is hell's torturer and that she could snap your neck in 5 seconds, So it's walking the fine balance between those two. As someone that is very emotionally or is striving towards emotional maturity, but also being very childlike and brutal on the, on the other side of the coin. Yeah.
So what is your favorite like Maze moment of the series?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I will say something that I loved, because I love period work in general. I obviously, had my big kind of launching pad on Spartacus. I love the world and the language and, it's heightened language. And I loved playing Lilith, her mother. It was a different era, a different time. The way she moved was very different. I always think of Maze as kind of a character that, man spreads when she sits, leads with her crotch, versus her mother that was very sort of feline-like in her movements and the way she spoke. And I really loved it. It's rare that you get to do that on a show, play someone completely different from a different time. And then also in that, really I learned a lot about Maze playing her mother, of why she is the way she is. As a mother myself, I had to put a lot of like my judgment, I guess, in how Lilith parented and what she thought was best for her children aside, and to understand the woman and why she made those decisions, that ultimately affect her daughter in such a very big way as an adult. But yeah, the costumes, walking onto set, I was in these corsets that were not fun to get into and hard to go to the restroom. I needed like 4 people to help me. But that world was just so rich, and it was fun. It's a lot of fun.
As you were like, before you answered, I was like, my favorite is the 40s episode. And then
funny.
Just as you said that.
Yeah.
It's fate. So what are you most excited for fans to see in season 6?
I'm really excited for them to have closure on a show that they have loved so hard and madly and deeply for 6 years. I think really this season was for the fans, was for the people who started with us from the very beginning, to the newbies who found us during lockdown and this crazy COVID world. I'm really happy for them to kind of see hopefully what they think is happy endings, for these characters that they love. There's certainly been a lot of hard work and thought put into how we would end the show, and what would be, just and what's the right thing to do, while also being very creative and navigating masks and social distancing and all of that. So don't be too harsh on us if you see smaller crowd scenes or weird mask lines on our faces, because we were working during a pandemic. But I'm really happy. There's certainly, as far as Maze's storyline goes, there's some really amazing moments, I think, that will make people very happy and really sad too. So I hope those hit home for fans.
So, like, Lucifer has a very big South African fan base. Have you been feeling the love on social media and stuff from the fans?
I do. I think a lot of South Africans are still discovering that I'm South African, which is really funny. I still on the daily get like, wow, I didn't know you're from Cape Town. But I do, and it's very special when I get the love from back home, because it's your people, it's your country, it's we don't have very many of us out here in Hollywood. That being said, I'm so proud of how well so many South Africans are doing and flying our flag. So no, I do feel the love, and I'm very grateful.
So, like, okay, back to Maze. Since growing a soul, the only significant romantic relationship has been with Eve. And although we've known that Lucifer and Maze are pansexual, it's great to see a main character have a same-sex relationship. So how important do you think the Eve storyline was to Maze's development?
Well, it's big. One of the images that really got me excited about playing this character, one of the images in the comic book, the source material, was of a picture of her kissing another girl and throwing a middle finger up to everyone watching. And I was like, this was written in the 90s, it was so progressive for its time. I really love that about her. And, being a pansexual character, I think there's just so much the world can learn from a character like Maze. She loves people for who they are, and she falls in love with the person, not an identity or not an idea. And she kind of walks to her own beat. So I really fought very hard for her to have a same-sex relationship, or for her to whatever love she was going to explore, have it be explored in a very real way. And if it was to be a woman, please do not write it from the male's perspective. Don't have a flirt the way guys do, because women are different. We just respond differently. I talk to a lot of my lesbian friends about their relationships, because I'm a heterosexual female. Even though I am a woman, of course I'm in a heterosexual relationship, so I wanted to do right by that and represent the community properly, and positively. It's just love. It's love. These two characters love each other. The fact that they're two women shouldn't be of any consequence, but I understand how important it is to see that on screen. So I took that with a lot of responsibility, and I think fans are going to be very happy this season.
Okay. So how important, you've spoken about growing up in South Africa and that kind of stuff, often, but and I'm sure in a lot of interviews you're going to have with us, but so how important is it for you to stay true to your roots, or to try and shine light on it? Very important.
It's part of me. It's who I am. I travel on a South African passport. It's a big part of my family, making sure my culture is present in my home and with my son, and I think too, showing the beauty of our country and the beauty of our people is very important to me. It's why I created this project I'm developing. Because I think we have such rich history, and it's not always connected to the trauma of our country. Obviously that's a big part of our history, but we have so much joy, we have so much humor, we have so much, like, I've tried to bring a lot of that into, we are tough, we are gritty, we are, streetwise, we will cut you, like these these
yeah,
these
we
are
know.
these are things that are very common to South Africa. I don't think I would have necessarily had the I grew the thick skin I needed for Hollywood in Cape Town, put it that way. I think as South Africans, particularly women, you have to have a thick skin and a tough skin. And you can't take things too seriously. I think my culture, in terms of like my morality and the kinds of things I'm passionate about from a social perspective, the charity work I do and the issues that are important to me, that is certainly tethered to my upbringing. Seeing that, I grew up, growing up in South Africa, you see poverty all the time. You see kids struggling, you see people struggling. So I can't turn a cheek when I see that here. It's innate in me. I mean, I do this thing which my mother, I mean, this is just the South African thing. The portion sizes of the food in America is so massive. And it was great when I was like, a poor actress, because I could split it up and, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I never throw food away. So it's something I always, if I'm not finishing a meal at a restaurant, I'll always pack it up and I'll always find someone to give it to, because that's what I was raised with. You don't throw food away, because there are people who don't have food, so it never leaves me.
Okay. So my final question before they chuck me off is, who was your first celebrity crush?
This is gonna sound so crazy, but I think it was Jean-Claude Van Damme.
We get that answer a lot.
From Bloodsport, isn't it? So, I mean, Bloodsport, such a brutal movie. But I think I used to have a poster of him doing the splits, like on the kitchen counter or something. Like he was in his kitchen.
I love that.
I know. I think I just loved like how tough he was. I mean, there was maize in the making, But yeah, I think it was Jean-Claude Van Damme. Funny.
I love that answer. Thank you so much, Lesley-Ann. It was so nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too, Karen. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
That was our interview with Lesley-Ann Brandt. Lucifer is now streaming on Netflix. Well, Lucifer season 6 is now streaming on Netflix. Now it's time for our favorite segment of the week, Crushing On. And we're going to start with our guest first. So, Theo, what have you been crushing on this week?
Shoot, a lot of different things, actually. I recently finished watching A Discovery of Witches season 2. And that was fun. Really like a popcorn show that, like, if you just want to put it on and then like not think, highly recommend. And I just started watching Only Murders in the Building. That's the TV show with Selena Gomez, Martin Short, and Steve Martin. I'm 3 episodes in. They're only like half an hour long. I actually recommend you wait until the season is done and then binge it, because from the 3 episodes I've watched, it feels very much like this is a type of show that needs to have dropped all at one time, because there's a mystery involved, and sometimes I actually forget that Selena can act, and that was the first thing she was doing instead of music, because she's not bad in the role. To be fair, it's not really, we haven't really gotten to like a complicated like part in the story, but she's not bad in the role, and like it's really nice and it's funny enough, but it's also dry. So if that's your speed, I definitely recommend. The episode's about half an hour, 35 minutes long, and they're just very charming. But like, yeah, it's good. It's on Hulu at the moment, so that is what I'm crashing on.
And you, Jamal?
Well, I'm in what is known as the RuPaul's Drag Race cinematic universe, also known as RuPaul keeping us in hell for an entire year. So currently, I'm watching Drag Race Holland, which,
Oh wow.
if you know anything about Drag Race, you know we started this on Jan 1st. It is now, we are in September. I've only not watched Drag Race for 1 week. That's 1 week out of the
Sure.
year. I haven't watched an episode of Drag Race. So yeah, Drag Race Holland is giving. Look, this week's episode was a bit iffy because when I tell you the sound was horrible, babes, the sound was. It sounded like someone found a soundboard for the first time. That's how bad the sound was. Music was loud. Our host Fred wasn't audible. Then everyone else was like on low. I don't know what happened this week because the sound quality's been fine. But this particular week, it was just a hot mess from beginning to end. I didn't like even on the runway, the judges made comments, but it was sound mixed like literally a 5-year old just went to the soundboard and went ga 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 ga. That's how bad it was. Currently, if I have to give you a short breakdown, for this year we've had Drag Race Season 13, Drag Race All Star 6, Drag Race Hispania, Drag Race Down Under, Drag Race UK 2, with Drag Race UK 3 coming in 2 weeks, followed by Drag Race International, no, World, UK versus the World, right after that, with Canada's Season 2 Drag Race also said to be somewhere in this year. Then following that, it's the RuPaul's Drag Race Christmas special. Am I missing something? That's just
Oh
This
for
my
is
this
god.
year.
Jamal's sport. This is his sport that he
Really, I was
does.
like, you just listed things, and I was like, I don't know what
He's like Premier
you know.
League.
So I often get reprimanded for being a bad gay because I don't watch Drag Race, and I don't ever
Because
say
Drag
that out
Race,
loud when we're in public or spaces because all the homosexuals will look at you like you are wrong. It's like a dude saying he doesn't watch F1 or doesn't watch soccer. That's how bad it is.
because Drag Race is the gay Premier League. It plays the whole year. You get invested from beginning to end. But the one thing about what's been nice about watching Holland is because of like Dutch and Afrikaans being so close, um, there's a lot of things that don't translate well. And like since because like as an Afrikaans speaking person, I can kind of have a general idea. Like I can watch it without. I've done it. I've like season one. I watched without the first episode because I couldn't find. Long story. Anyway, I watched without subtitles, which was fine. But like with subtitles, it's nice because you can read, get more context, but then you also get like all the inside joke. Like this
Mm.
week, for instance, there was a fight between Vanessa Van Cartier and Vivaldi. Now, Vanessa is a former Miss Continental. If you know anything about drag, Miss Continental is the biggest pageant in the US. I think she won Miss Continental. So like just for the other winners from Drag Race who've won Miss Continental are Brooklyn Heights, who's now the host of Canada's Drag Race, and Naisha Lopez, who is there. But like the pageant girls don't they don't play when it comes to
Mm.
looks and just general demeanor. They don't play. And then this week, I don't know what Vivaldi said, but Vanessa was having none of it, and they were arguing, fighting, and then and I'm quoting here, Vanessa goes, "Oh yo, Beck." I was like, "Huh? On Drag Race, yo." And like you can't translate that to like English. Shut your mouth. It just doesn't. Doesn't.
It
And I
doesn't
feel so
snap the
sorry.
same way. Like
Exactly.
it doesn't have the same fire.
Exactly. And like she was in Vivaldi's face. I'm like, you told her how you big. I'm like, yo, flames. So like besides the episode and the horrible sound it was a wonderful episode. And this has been my biggest gripe with Drag Race as the years have gone by is let drag queens be drag queens, man. If there's drama, let it happen. And like the nice thing
Mm.
about the European version, so like España, oh yeah, Italy is also coming this year. España and Holland and the UK is the queens aren't as conscious about the fan reaction, and that really has been hindering the US version of the show because everyone is so conscious about what the fans because if I'm having to be honest, Drag Race fans are horrible people. Like, and I don't mean like me as a queer POC in the 30 upwards range. We are fine. It's the kiddies that will go into Queen's DMs, like literally like Queen, especially like the black and brown queens. Like literally, these fans will go into their DMs and like write death threats. Like Candy Muse had a whole issue where people were emailing her mother, like writing like horrible things, and just because they don't like a queen. Look, there are a lot of queens I personally don't like. Silky Naknek Ganache being number one. Can't stand that bitch. Didn't like her on the show. Don't like her off the show. But I would never go to Silky's page and be like, I hate you. Like, that's just like, I respect any queen because doing drag is hard and it's a difficult job. And Drag Race is the biggest platform. So I would personally never, even when I'm doing like my Drag Race threads, I will never at a queen if I don't like you or if I have an issue, because also you have to realize this is a reality show. Like you're presented in a specific way to tell a story. And and that has hindered what could be, because all the great moments from Drag Race are all from the earlier seasons, is because the girls are so scared of, ooh, if I say something wrong, now 500 Jan stands are in my mentions, just talking about the Jantasy and you and this happens a lot where like white queens get propelled with the black and brown queens stay in the middle. Like you'll even notice someone, I think it was Bussy who did it, a breakdown of like everyone over 1 million followers. Most of the queens who have over 1 million followers on Instagram, the majority of them are white, skinny, wear blonde wigs. Like the overarching majority, where like there are black and brown queens that do fun, like even do not even twice as much of the work, like 3 times as much of the work. It don't even get like half of the recognition. So yeah, so like that was really like this week of Drag Race Holland. Oh, just drama and intrigue, and then the gag really was. So Vanessa then, after going back and forth with Vivaldi, then drops this bomb where she says, "You have a phone." So if you don't know, on the Drag Race contract, you're not allowed to have any contact with the outside world, including a phone in your hotel room. So she knew Vivaldi had a phone, and then in the workroom said, "You have a phone." And I'm just like, huh? But then the gag is they discuss it on the runway, and Vivaldi doesn't get disqualified. I'm like, what is this? What, Fred? What are you doing? Please, ma'am. Vivaldi needs to be disqualified. Like, and that's my only problem with like Drag Race as a whole is like they're very inconsistent with their judging in all the franchises. Like, it's weirdo choices, and you're like, did we watch the same show? Like, you saying one thing, but I saw something completely different. So, horrible judging choices aside, Drag Race Holland, get into it. It's a lot of fun, guys. Discovery of Witches, I started season, what's it, 2? Got bored. Yeah. There's another show, but I can't yet talk about it because it's not out yet. So, but
Okay.
y'all will love it next weekend.
Whoop, whoop. Excited. Leanne, what are you crashing on this week?
I mean, a very different speed to the Drag Race universe. What We Do in the Shadows season 2 is on Showmax, and so we kind of been watching that this week. Very odd, very
How
bizarre.
is it?
Season 2, it's so much funnier than season 1. Like, it's such a weird, quirky show. Like, I try to explain it to people, but if you don't know the movie or the background. So it's written by Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi. It started as a movie and then they turned it into a series. And it's about 3 vampires living in New York. And season 1 kind of ended where the familiar finds out he's a descendant of Van Helsing. But he wants to be a vampire. But then he's like really good at killing vampires, but he's still a familiar. And so it just sets up season 2 perfectly for like all the comedy.
It's been on
So
my
really,
watch
really
list, so you're definitely encouraging me to watch it.
do it. And so more people will get the weird. Because I know it's the type of show where you're going to be making references in public and like no one's going to get it. And so I need more people to watch it so I don't look like a weirdo.
And you, Vic?
So what I've been having on in the background all week was Schitt's Creek, just because I have to have Moira Rose's quotes of like my favorite one of this week was when she said, "Alexis, what have I told you about putting your body on the internet? Not without good lighting." And that was sort of a highlight for me this week. I've also watched finally for the first time I've watched I May Destroy You. A little delay. But oh my
Mm.
gosh, I can't believe I waited this long to watch it. It's one of the most powerful series I've ever seen
Yeah.
in my life. Is there season two? Do you know?
No.
No,
No. I love that
no.
Oh
we all
Lord.
audibly grasped at that. That was the best moment. We all just went,
Can I just say
it
about
was
I
so
Made a
good.
Story? Like there is
Uh,
one. Did you finish it before I say something?
yeah,
Or are you
yeah,
still
I'm done.
busy?
Yeah.
Oh, when I tell you that little scene, not little, the scene with a friend who went for grinder hookup, how
Mm,
accurate that whole scenario is. Like both with the DL guy and then like where is SA worded.
mm,
Because because these are a lot of conversations like in like general mainstream media we never see like this part of queer culture where like it's very
mm,
like I said it when I watched it initially. I was like, for the first time on some level I saw myself being represented on screen. And yes, it's in the UK. Yes, is he Nigerian, British Nigerian, can't remember. Anyway,
Yes.
yes, it's still not as close to as I would like it, but like seeing something so specifically part of gay culture being handled very gently and being handled in a very accurate way was phenomenal on top of everything else. And Michaela Cole really just deserves everything.
She deserves
mm,
all the awards. Like I really want to say it was so lovely watching a show that's just about the experience of um a woman who's not altogether like, and she's a mess and it's nice and she's not perfect, but she is still like inherently, you can't help but root for her, and that's really lovely. And I think we need more characters like that where women aren't perfect, but that's like, it's that duality of you allowed to be messy, and but you also like don't
mm,
deserve all the things that happen to you that happen to a character. It's like, oh my god, like I really had to be in the mental space to watch that, and like Jamal had like watched it, and like in one weekend, I was like, I can't do that because after episode one, I was like, let me take a 3 month break, and then I took a 3 month break, and then I started it again because it was a thing of like, it's it just also showed me like how much like privilege I have in some of the stuff that I don't really have to think about, like, and how
Mm.
much extra precautions women have to take because just in the fact that they're women and they live in a world where men think it's okay to own like to be possessive and to be toxic,
Mm.
and I'm just like, it's just really heartbreaking that this is the culture we live in, and it's also very frustrating to know that like just like it's as a man that like um this is this kind of the state that it in, that like women can't feel safe around like me, even if it's not me, it's still me, like it's, I'm
mm,
not exempt from the issue. And that is a really tough conversation to have, but we need to have it, because if we don't have it, then how are things going to get better for women? Like, we live in a country where we have the highest femicide rate in the world. Like, that
Mm.
is really disgusting, and I don't think it keeps enough men up at night. So yeah, just hopefully
Mm.
it's something that we can like address going forward. And the show did it in such a beautiful way, and I think more men need to watch that show. Please, men, watch that show so you can just have a 1% understanding of what it is that women go through.
mm,
And this is what I loved about I Made a Story. I know we're going off on a tangent, but like it showed such a wide spectrum of men who, it wasn't just an archetype of a big, overpowering, hyper masculine man. It showed like any man is capable of doing um, what doing it, and it was just, and that's what with the best thing about I Made the Story. Like it gave not only Michaela Cole's character like was a fully fledged character on top of her being like a dark skinned woman in a leading role, um, but everything felt so. It felt very fantastical and real at the same time, which was really great.
Mm.
For me, like it always say that like there's no such thing as a good guy, and I think we kind of need to do away with with the notion of like good guys, because I think that often sets up this notion of like, oh, men trying to portray themselves in a certain light, and more often than not it's usually like the bad guys who often try to do that, because like no one who is a good person will ever say that they're a good person. Like, it's that thing of, you just inherently are, or like it's just your way of doing things. If you try to then say, "Oh, I'm like, oh no, I'm one of the good guys," you're not, because you don't need to say it.
Mm. I've been watching a lot of Lucifer. Like these, I binge watch probably all of Lucifer, and but in the efforts of talking about something that's not something we've already discussed in this episode, I watched the latest season episode 15 of Survivor South Africa, which was wild because there's so many twists the season. They're like so the person who won the immunity challenge, they gave them a reward of getting to have breakfast with a member of the jury. And now we're down to the last four. So if you talk to a jury member and they can tell you like sort of how the jury's feeling, I mean, that is such an advantage that I was like, yo. And then to work with that, and then that person also had like how you how to vote, and they had a reward where they could send one of the jury members home, so they were not allowed to vote in the final. So I was just like, was just one after the other, and it was just so small. I mean, it feels a little bit annoying because it's like, why must this character or this person get so many advantages at once? But also, it's like, it's so many good advantages that you're like, yo, you can't help but respect the game. So I really enjoyed that episode. And then other than that, I was reading this comic book or graphic novel of Magneto, his origin story. As he started out as like in the Holocaust and stuff like that. And it was so gripping, and like I was crying for this series. It was so good. It's called Magneto Testaments, and like some of the images were so harrowing that like my stomach turned. But it was so well written and so well like drawn that that I was just like enthralled by it, like from beginning to end. And yeah, that's pretty much all I did except for watch Lucifer. Everything. But yeah, that's what I've been crashing on this week. Um thank you guys so
Just out
much
of
for this. This was
curiosity,
uh,
seeing because you spoke about Survivor, like, does everyone know what reality show they'd be on?
I think I'd like to be on Sexy Beasts.
why?
I
It's
mean,
just
I did not
like,
see that answer coming from you, but
Did not
okay.
see that coming.
just because like it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. The thing is, like, if I'm going to go on reality TV to find love, like, what are the odds I'm going to find someone I actually love on the show? I might as well have like make a joke of it or have fun with it, if you know what I mean. And if someone could put me in a costume where I look like an evil witch or a shark,
Mm.
that sounds like a lot of fun for me. And if someone likes me because of the fact that I've got a good fin on my head and I'm good conversation, then then you know what I mean? Then maybe we can be friends.
Good fun on my head.
I'd go on the circle, actually. That's what I do, because it's one of those things where, okay, social media is easy just to kind of sit behind, but to be able to then strategize from there, that would be so exciting to then see like what you can kind of like do and speak to people and stuff. And I don't know if I'd play it as myself or play it as someone else, but like that's the type of reality show I'd go on.
Any Jamal in the end, you
I'd,
guys
I'd
have
definitely be on Survivor. I think I've always been obsessed with the show as like from a psychological point of view, just the way it forces people to act out of character or strengthen certain character traits. And because essentially everyone plays a role depending on who they're with and how they
mm.
build that cast, like I just think it would be, yeah, that would be my speed. Definitely.
I would want to be a friend of, so not a specific reality show, but a friend of someone on the show, where you get like some clout, but just enough where you can monetize your Instagram, um, get like a day rate, not necessarily be the main
Direct.
character.
Jamal
You're
just said,
like
I'm
the
here for a
dramatic.
check.
Yeah, like, yeah, just get me on like Rich Kids or something, or what's the other one? Or like Crazy Rich Asians, be the friend of. Like, get me that gig where I enjoy all the perks with none of the annoyance. Like I don't want to be like, make me a main character. No, make me like a nice featured extra,
I
but
love
also
it.
not a South but also not also like I don't want to be like involved in any South African dating shows because if any have you guys been watching Temptation Island?
I haven't watched it yet. No.
It is, how do I put this kindly? It's not as bad as Love Island essay. It's not that bad. But I just realized yet again, South Africans who sign up for reality TV in a dating setting
Mm.
don't have banter because it's droog, man. It's so dry. I'm like, do y'all actually like each other? Like, also, it's like weirdo choices. Like, this one couple, they've been dating for 5 months and decided, let's go on Temptation Island. I'm like, babes, no. Like, why would you put your whole relationship on the line after
So you're
five
trying to be
months?
famous. That is why
Yeah,
you are trying to be famous.
but there are famous people as singles in this show. That's what makes it wild. Like Gigi Lamaine, a whole rapper, and what's his name, Tats.
I'm also like, what
Tats
is Gigi Lamaine doing on a reality show? A dating reality show, not even like she could have been a
as a
feature. She could have been a guest
single.
judge on Idols. Like, why is she
What is
doing this?
going on? Like it's so weird. Like what are you doing here, babes? Like and it's just I watched all 3 episodes and I'm bored to tears. Like I'm like, can we get some lust? And also like no tea, no shade, no pink lemonade. These people are so unattractive across the board. Like men, women. I'm like, where are the beautiful people? Sell me a fantasy. Sell me a dream. Like if you're gonna be at least boring, at least be pretty. Like and it's so average. It's everyone's so average, man. And it's insulting to my eyes, actually. Like, like can we get like compared to like Love Island, just the season of Love Island UK. My God. Oh, I can go down the list, even the ones I don't remember, like Brad. And like Brad just call me Tamira. And then like Tyler's height and like just this beautiful light skinned man who's like 6'6" and like him and Cat. Like, do you understand? Like I fell in love with the fantasy. Now I'm watching Temptation and I'm like, you people don't even like each other. You are literally here for some strange reason, don't know why. And like what irked me about the first episode, like all the in the confessionals, what the one who was like, we're on an island. I'm like, no, you're not. You're Neisner, babes. Just to reference this, I'm from Neisner, so I know exactly where that villa is. So I'm like, why are you lying? Why are we lying to the TV? Anyway, yeah. So I will be a friend of. Give me a day rate, thank you.
I'm 100% like the Hills, Laguna Beach, that vibe. That's what I want. I want to be supposed to be living my life, coming and going, be part of a cast, having my fights with my friends and relationships and everything. That must all be on TV. I want to be rich and just live my life. But I don't want to be like a Kardashian where I'm like the main focus. I just want to be one of many. And just everybody just to be
Kadisha.
interested in my like life drama. That's that. It's 100%. I couldn't do. I love survival with my whole heart, but I could never. I don't like outdoors. I don't want to be. I don't want to be struggling. I struggled
I,
enough of my
I
life. I
couldn't
don't
do
want to struggle
Survivor
again.
either. I don't have the personality for it. I know myself well enough to know that, like, I'd be voted
Oh,
out
I don't think
first.
I'd make it far. I just think that's probably where I would be.
The thing with Survivor is like it's a game within a game. No, I'm joking.
Mm,
It's a social game, and it's actually a 3-part game. So you're playing a social game, you're playing the actual game, but then you also are playing the game with the producers because, as we all
mm,
know, in a reality TV show, you need to fulfill a role because we are telling a story here, and if you don't fit into a certain role they want for you, babes, you're on your way back. Like you're not gonna last long,
yeah.
even if you play a great game with your tribe. Like if you don't fill a need, because that's how the producers cast too. There's always an underdog. We have an overachiever. We have someone who's not supposed to do well, but eventually does well. There's someone that's great at the social game. Someone that's
Mm.
great at the physical aspect. So like you have to fill one of these slots. And if you and like I haven't watched Survivor in years. Don't judge me. I've watched a bit of the last season of Survivor, not this one, the one before that, bit of it, but like, on and off. It's just like the show has been on for so many years. It's like, whoo, my God. But we've seen before how people who might not play the best, might not be best in challenges, be mediocre in like the social aspect, but because they offer great reality TV, the
Yeah.
producers make sure to maneuver a way around keeping them as long as humanly possible. So like you have to like there's literally 3 parts you have to play in your mind the whole time. That's why I would never do it either. The weight loss part looks phenomenal, but then you have to be there for like a month. So
Okay, guys, thank you so much. This was lovely.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
The show is produced by me, Karen, and Rebecca Barches. The show is edited and engineered by Rebecca Barches. Our admin is done by Leanne Phillipson. Our logo was designed by Nathifa Maroof. And the show was created in partnership with IGN Africa. If you like the show, tell everyone that you can, any way that you can. Keep up to date with our episodes by subscribing to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And please rate and review the episodes on Apple Podcasts, as it helps others find the show. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another in-depth conversation with a pop culture lover. See you then.